Okay, let's start with e4. We actually have played quite some games, like 12, mostly rapid, I think. I don't think we have ever played a classical game. But back then I played only d4, so we will get into new territory. I assume my opponent will not be surprised with that. Not sure if they actually prepared. I assume they did, since they, I think, are right now in a very good position for a podium finish. But yeah, maybe first do the intro for YouTube. So for the people joining new to the channel, so this is part of the 45 league. This is the final round. My opponent, as you can see, is a very strong candidate master. And I think he is like probably top 10 classical of Lichess, and one or two of people in the league. So as I said, we have played quite some rapid games already, where actually my score is not that bad, and even like I quite often outplayed them quite decently, but they for sure back then, even I hope the difference is now lower in that part, but they were so more tactical sharp than me, so they always get in like the tricks in to save or win even bad positions. So if yeah, before this round, or even before today, my team had still a reasonable shot for the podium, but we lost 2 of our games today, so after that we are out of the race. But my opponent's team, they are in a two-way battle for the final podium spot with another team. Like they for sure need to at least get a half point more of the final 2 games, and then it's depending on who gets the better I'm saying here the better match game points. So then it's just counting who won more games, or even I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not, of course, like I'm not full. I know I'm not fully following their tiebreak situation. I was more following our tiebreak situation. So not sure if getting a half point already almost clinches it, or if they need to still run up the score. So yeah, it could have been interesting for me to check. So then I know if like they would be happy with the draw or not. But yeah, I didn't do that. So let me now make sure. So I think I need to take here. Then knight g5. Yeah, I actually prepared this, but remembering my preparation, yeah, I haven't been like I've been very lame today. I'm not sure if that's an English word. But yeah, I couldn't get anything done. That was also the reason why I was very late in starting the stream. But I think in this or could it be that... Oh, maybe it was here, queen e2. Maybe this was a position. Yeah, I think I already messed up. Yeah, this is again the position that I have played yesterday. This was not my preparation, I think. And this was actually the position I got yesterday in a game. And there, I think it was playing queen e2. Oh no. I think it's only after they start with knight c6. And then these are these variations with queen e2. Although I'm not sure then what was after knight c6 then the move. Was it then maybe bishop g5? Maybe. Okay, so then let's try to remember here what's here the move. Is it here knight e4? Maybe it's here knight e4. So of course they could then like take here, then I have knight b6. I cover this, so that pawn sacrifice is good for me. So they need to stop that. Yeah, I think I'm still remembering here. I'm still into my preparation. Yeah, they have different ways how to stop this knight b6, and then depending on that I react. So if they go with this knight, I think it's knight g5 my move, if I remember correctly. If they go with this knight, now I play c4. Yeah, and one of the another potential like team is like b5, knight b6, rook e7, and getting this knight to d5. And then there are all kind of tactical teams where, yeah, so the crucial idea is that my queen on this square often will be with a fork, like, or it can be on all kind of pieces. It can of course be on this rook, it can be on knight on c6, it can be on a rook on b7. So yeah, before, so I think they all I think 3 games. If it's not that they deviated and I'm completely messing up, since yeah, there's like all kind of move orders possibly. Like of course, yeah, in this structure the battle is all about a d5 square. So often black will at some point play bishop e6, but it matters a lot at which point I do it. But I think like I found 3 games of them in this position where their opponent always played bishop b3. Since, yeah, if you after this. Now you sort of recover this weak square. Now black has back control over it. Black often can easier play d5, which is desirable for black, but yeah, it's not as simple as that. And I have now just the thing is that I have concrete play against, like, sometimes against this e6 weakness, sometimes against these weak dark squares. So yeah, this is a very concrete line. I think also in the past I too never have taken here on e6, so that probably explains why my opponent is thinking here. So let's try to. It could also be that I'm just messing up here. I think so. After b5, knight b6, rook a7, knight d5. Guess it then depends where they move the rook to. And the fact that the knight is already here, that the knight is still here. But maybe that's actually. They have so I guess they have knight c6 too. What am I doing then? I have still knight b6. And then yeah, the rook needs to go to b8 probably. And then maybe queen d3, defending this point. And yeah, that is like a position by yeah, really clamping down on these weak dark squares. Yeah, the knight on b6 will be like dominating, like bolts. Yeah, mostly almost all their major pieces. Like it will be very clumsy to get it coordinated. I guess after something like knight e6, knight b6, they maybe need to get a queen to here so the rook can go here. But at that point also, like knight e5, attacking this e6 point becomes also a theme. So yeah, it's very clumsy to defend everything. So yeah, I think knight e6 is not really a move because of that. So I think yeah, it's either knights moving. That are the main lines I remember. Or there's also this line. Yeah, no, after this line, I first give this check and now here. And it's not that I'm not gonna like then try to win some material with this discovery, but more it's so just playing that they are playing without a rook, like that rook on a7 is obviously horrible. And they never really can challenge my structure there. Like, assume there's a knight on b6, and there's a rook on a7. Like, if they try to challenge... Okay. This is a move too, I think. I think here queen d3 is a move. I'm completely forgot. Yeah. Yeah, this is... Yeah, since I couldn't figure out how certain lines came to, since this night's... I remember that there were lights where this knight was gone, but I was like, how? But I think it's actually, it's this way. So I'm pretty sure it's queen d3 here. Like after knight b6, they can take here, and it's just a blunder. And I know, like, when I trained this line on my chessable course, my instinct was always queen d2, I think, here. But it always said that was a hard fail. Didn't really check why. But of course, yeah, the queen on d3 has just... if they don't take on e3, like the queen on thanks GDV 281 for the follow. Can't see your message in chat, but since for the leak we try to be extra secure that no one is like helping in chat, so we don't read chat during the game. It loses some pound, but yeah, that way you can freely analyze also in the chat, so that's also nice. Not sure. Yeah, I'm really bad with names, so I'm not sure. Like, if this is actually like your Slack or Lichess name, and I should recognize you, but yeah, doesn't matter. So yeah, of course, after this capture, now I gain back control over the b5 square. So I think now, so take b5, knight b6, rook a7, knight t5, then moving the rook, and then my queen moves, and that's are exactly those lines where after the capture I recapture back with the queen, and yeah, so the line is here, 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 and now the queen moves back to the d file. Not 100% certain to which square. I think it's actually now maybe d2. I will think about it in the moment. And then if they capture here, now I have this fork because the rook is on b7. And even later on, when the knight moves to c6, the same fork remains in the position. But yeah, so let's try to figure out in that line, do I want the queen on d2 or d3 actually? It might be... It's quite... It feels still like it should be d3, but yeah, maybe the reason is that there's like some lines where there's a tempo on the queen on d3. Or of course on d2 I keep some more control over some dark squares. Yeah, maybe sometimes on d2 the queen can pop out to a on d3 the queen can pop out to a5. Maybe that's the reason the queen goes to d2 in these lines. But yeah, when I'm in that position, it will be easier to visualize. Already, yeah, so I clearly won the preparation battle, so that's already a great start. But yeah, even if I somehow get like a positionally great position, which I have done in the past against this opponent, like they are very tricky defenders, like always finding resources. So, and yeah, this is, I have no clue actually if like this is a line where in the end I'm just slightly better, or if this is a line where I'm actually fighting for the advantage. So I guess they could still go for 97 here. Yeah, so yeah, one of the reasons to have the queen here is probably that after like c4, which is often a move I want to make in this structure, yeah, after like b5, now the queen defends this. And knight d7 here is not very well, could be a reasonable move. Also after take 97. But yeah, I think always it's like c4, clamping down on this d5, leaving this d6 a weak pawn. So then often I want to play c4 and the knight just goes back, and now I have a very nice bind on the d5 square, and with that a bind on the d6 weakness, leaving this. Okay, though it's not that easy to like actually try to win that pawn, since of course this bishop solidly defends it, but it just keeps like this 3 pawns immobile. Well, if they can get like d5 in, now these pawns can get very strong. So, but yeah, for me, I assume they have a lot of experience in this structure. Well, I have very limited experience. I'm also, like, for example, like I'm playing mainly open Sicilians, but against knight c6 I play bishop b5, so I don't play the Kalashnikov or the Sveshnikov as white, which are like the main openings where you get like this structure. And then of course also, yeah, one of the structures that can transpose to is this structure. I think it's a little bit less happening in these openings than when you get there from Najdorf move order. Of course, yeah, a big difference compared to these openings. Then this knight often is on a3, where it like needs a long journey to get back into the game. Well, my knight is now on f3. Of course, for now it's like a little bit dominated by these two pawns, but it's at least now with the knight on g4. Also, this square is gone, so it has not really forward moves, but one, like, it sometimes can go to c4, which is a nice square, and even, I'm not sure if that will be relevant. But yeah, I guess it could be relevant. Like there are lines where the knight actually goes to e1, defending like this sort of, yeah, the counterplay often for the Sicilian player will be on the c line. But yeah, that's often more when there is still like this knight on c3, which, yeah, now, so the rook on c8 or the queen sort of like pins that knight often to the c pawn, since otherwise, yeah, you could play with c3 or c4 and nullify that. And that it's one of the big things of like this opening in the concept, that I get this pawn out of the way, and then often I just return with the knight. And that way there's less that pressure on a c file. I guess they can still do similarly, but then I can like do c4, b3, and get a bit like how is it called? Like my oxybind. It's of course different, but there are some similarities. Yeah, the main difference is that there is this e6, which like fights for the d5 square, but that's like and I guess people are more, yeah, okay, I guess it's already, the pawn is on e5, so it's quite different, but in some lines it could still get this structure, but not that likely. Yeah, not that easy, of course, to really talk about the position, since like when you're still in prep, like I'm not really figuring out moves, like I'm more remembering moves. I'm not 100, like I was already like not earlier, I was not 100% sure. I actually played my prep, now I'm quite sure this is actually my prep. So I against a lot of moves. For example, yeah, I can pre-move this. I actually just know what the move is, and then it's really difficult to consider alternatives and stuff like that. But yeah, let's try to think a bit. Since yeah, in general, I'm not that far from the end of my prep, I think. So yeah, that sounds really strange, right? Like I've really, at some point it just ends, of course, but at this moment I have still like very difficult. It could be that I somehow in my brain have still prepped for like 10 more moves, but at this moment that's far. But the closer I get to it, like it will get back. And I think that's a bit like which has to do with like Chessable. For example, because the lines are different, right? And you are not studying them in one go. So it breaks up a bit the lines. So then from a certain point, like it will be a different for so this position will be not in a single line. It may be a position we get in like 5 or 10 more moves. So they are a bit split in my brain. But the moment I get to that position, I have a good chance of remembering it back. Which is, yeah, I'm not sure if that's with everyone like this. But yeah, I for sure have that experience. And I'm like, for some people like can say with like a certainty, like, yeah, this is my preparation, but for me it's always like more fluid. Like I think I remember, but I am very seldom certain. And then sometimes at later points I am more certain than on earlier points. That happens also. Let's already put on the lights. Right now I'm still good, but let's hope the game at least takes a couple of hours. So by then I think it will get dark. I'm not sure how much light we have left, since I guess we are closing into the longest day, so I think it's probably still more than an hour. But by the end it will already start getting darker, so no. I don't want to bother that in a situation where I'm lower on time, where now I'm struggling to say stuff. Yeah. For like, of course you can't communicate with me right now, but there are, like, I can see like comments, so there are a couple things you can say with me like that. For example, if I do this and now the top of the screen will not be full on the board, that you can show with a comment. See, there are like 10 people following on Lichess, like one, so GD10. They've, I assume you are GD 280 who followed me earlier. Also, so my teammates Mon Gretier and Intertemporal. It's kind, I think this is, I played this player KV5KGC yesterday, so that's quite cool, actually. Not sure if you're here, but on Twitch, but very welcome. I think I remember that correctly. I already said earlier, right? I'm very bad with names, although most people here are very familiar. Or, so another thing you can say is when I didn't, when Aldo, that's a tricky thing. So if my OBS has decided that it forgot my mic, which it sometimes does. Like, it's just my mic is, it forgets that it needs to use my mic. I don't know how that happens, but sometimes it does. That is also a command that you can say, but of course, if that would be the case, you wouldn't be hearing me, so that's a little bit tricky. So oh yeah, so I think if I'm correct, so a draw is enough for my opponent to secure the podium finish. So that's of course good information to have. That means extra that I shouldn't give them to them. I think, like, they are also too proud in a way that, like, for example, if they have like a winning possession, which is of course not a winning position, but it's super complex, then they might try to think about offering a draw. But in a winning position where they are like just up a piece or something, yeah, piece, that's too much, but even maybe 1 or 2 pawns, let's say, I think they will play on. I'm not sure. I'm curious about that. Yeah, of course, I can't know how, like, important they find the league standings and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's forever different, of course. Like, in general, I think you should, like, in the first play your own game. I think that's a good mindset to have, but of course, you keep the league standings in mind too. Like, you're not going to, like, when you have a repetition in a super complex position and you know a draw secures you the league win or something, you're gonna take the repetition. Even if you can, there are also reasonable alternatives where you can play on. But yeah, there is a whole spectrum in that. So they are taking a lot of time here. Of course, yeah, they understand the positional risks they are in. And where I can get some sort of a bind. Assume they have like, yeah, they have probably, maybe they for sure have like tens of games in this structure, if not hundreds in games. So in this like exact pawn structure in the center, maybe not on their Lichess account, but with everything together. I don't know if they have a chess.com account, maybe a different Lichess account, maybe on just over the board blitz games, classical games, everything together, right? Although and of course it could be even like just Lichess games and maybe not this exact line I played now, but in like slightly different lines, getting to very similar structures. Maybe after not starting with bishop e3, but maybe here with starting with bishop c4. I don't know all these lines, but or with bishop e3 and getting the same structure. Okay, they go for b5. So not trading here first. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I need to play knight b6 here now. And knight e5. And I guess we will see then. I'll do, so knight b6, rook a7, knight e5. So they move the rook. Yeah, at that point, it's like when it's at some point I can decide to maybe keep my bishop. Not sure when that will be the case. Yeah, I think as far as I remember, I have more looked at, and my chessable course might be only where they take first. But I think the teams remain the same. Like here going backwards, yeah, make no sense. So I think as long as my knight at least can get to d5, then on d5 I always can, like the moment they threaten to actually take that knight, I always can just trade it off for this bishop. Also, maybe after, since I get it to d5, maybe after knight takes e3, I actually can take back with a knight, which is actually interesting. That really fights nicely against d5, and my knight. Yeah, I feel that's a nice square for the knight. Then maybe I can at some point play with a4. If they need to play b4, my knight can get back to c4. My knight on e3 already defends like c2. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting option. But yeah, I don't know. I still after this. So after rook e7, knight e5, taking. I still for sure can also take with the queen. That would transpose back into the lines I know. So in a way that's safe. But yeah, the downside of, okay, at this moment I think I need to recapture with the queen. Don't think this is like a smart okay, let's stand for a second. So after this, of course, I assume they need to now take here, otherwise I would just win material. I assume I take, and after 97, yeah, I'm just going to lose material. I don't think I can save then my knight, so I think this is forced. So now rook a7 is like almost certain forced. f95, and I'm back into my preparation. So I guess rook d7 actually is now also a move. Yeah, I was earlier talking. Yeah, if they go back to a8 now, again I can do after b7. Yeah, I will need to decide one of these squares, which I'm not like certain which of the two I will do. But yeah, I think the fact that on d2 I'm defending the a5 square is something. Of course, the upside of d3 is that, yeah, but yeah, just on d2 I'm like looking at all these like b4, a5, all squares why my queen can pop auto. Well, on d3, yeah, it's just looking at this, and this is not that big a weakness, I think. The downside of queen d2 is that I don't have the ring maneuvering square for my knight. But it's just very difficult. There are some like lines where they play with this. Yeah, maybe that even still can happen now that I'm remembering. Yeah, I'm quite confident that it's actually queen d2. I'm just not confident why actually, but it could be actually the reasons I'm now saying out loud. Since I remember lines where they play then with bishop h4, which I take, then I'm even. But that's only when they, yeah, that's of course only when they play with rook b7. I guess good also when they play with rook a8. But yeah, I think rook b7 is a more natural move. This I at some points, because now I'm just still remembering stuff. I will need to like make the switch, which is very tricky. Like I'm already in this game now for like close to 50 minutes, and I haven't like actually calculate. I have done some small calculations to like comfort myself that I'm actually in my prep, like it's this line, this works because of that and stuff like that. But it's mostly I've been in remember mode. So then the first move you actually need to start calculating can get very tricky. Because yeah, your mind is just not ready for it. So, but yeah, I think after rook d7, then I take, and yeah, probably I will start then putting pressure on. Yeah, now this d6 is actually a weakness, right? When I managed to trade off this dark square bishop. Like now there's not a natural. They of course still can like easily, very easily have a lot of defenders on it. So I'm not gonna quickly win it, but I will get then a lot of their pieces passive, and then it's just getting the second front open. Often that's with like e4 obviously, which is like one of the Ben Feingold's rules. When you have like this a6 b5 structure, you always should play a4, which is yeah, like as all his rules is not at all like it's actually a very good like not it's not a golden no none of his rules are golden rules, but it's like more. But in that case, it always should be an important candidate. It's like with all his rules, that's more. The actual rule is almost this is a strong candidate. Okay, so we get his rook b7. So yeah, that I think yeah the big thing of this rook d7 that fights very nicely against a4, since now they could consider taking, and then they have counterplay on the b file. While on d7 it's just very passive. But so now I think this is I play queen d2 here, like with this forking ID. And even like later, after knight c6, this forking ID still will be in the position. But yeah, also now I of course free this square for the knight to drop back, similar like I said earlier. Yeah, that's yeah. There's no risk that I'm blundering anything, but just make sure that I'm not making any like stupid inaccuracies. But yeah, I'm like 90% certain this is actually my prep. which at this point is very good still. We are already move 16, so and I'm already 25 minutes up on the clock. So here is, I think, the line with bishop h4 is one line, after which I think there is like taking actually. Queen takes, knight e3, after which they defend this pawn and I play queen d3. I think that's actually a line. Of course, it's multiple in this configuration. Like, this is a very, like, a candidate I always will need to consider, but at the moment, yeah, they just don't have like the pieces set up to make further use of it. There's not quickly getting a knight to join it. But yeah, maybe after like they play knight c6, now maybe that's actually starting to become more a thing. I think that, like, I have the feeling it's not like actually a good move, but practically sounds maybe a decent idea. I think, yeah, from here, candidate I for sure have is c3. Like, that stops these ideas with the knight going here. The downside of c3 is now, like, they could force my knight to move, and then they have like b4 break. Although, yeah, that's of course an extra upside of my queen on d2. I'm also fighting against this break. But yeah, maybe a combination of knight c6 and then, yeah, stepping out of this, like, this fork here with king h8. And then they are maybe, then I will need to move my knight, and then that starts to become an idea. But yeah, I guess, like, if they don't like do a forcing move, I might next play rook d1, like start to threaten to trade and take on d6. I think that sounds very good. The fork on d5 is still there, so don't see. I guess, yeah, I assume they are sort of preparing knight c5, after which they will be putting pressure on e4. I think I might be officially out of my preparation here, which could be that they actually made now a bad move. Yeah. So let's consider. I think that's maybe. I think, yeah, most like my first inclination is rook fd1, because, yeah, I want to keep this rook for a potential a4 break. Like, right now I'm not gonna to do that, but at a later point, like, if I can manage them to get very passively defending this d6 weakness, I will at some point will need to create a second weakness, and almost certain that is gonna be with an a4 break. So I think I want the rook here. Of course, the opposite is that I'm leaving this f2 pawn slightly weaker. But yeah, it's very slow for them, like, to get really an attack on this. I already am here with my rook, with my queen defending it. Like, this bishop sort of is in the way of ever creating an attack on it. But yeah, I think... so yeah, this 97 is also always with check, so that's good. So let's say rook fd1. Let's at least start to calculate some concrete variations to get my brain. I think I'm obviously out of my prep, so I need to slow down a bit here. Not keep making quick moves, but also not overdo it. Like, would be a shame to directly give away all my extra time. Knight c5, take, queen takes. Guess they can both take here first or trade first. But trading first looks bad, since then I just directly win e6. But yeah, both look actually quite bad. I guess the downside is, okay, so after that line, then there's some pressure on e5. So like here. So that could be a reason that rook ad1 is actually better in this position. This take, let's say knight e4. That attacks my queen, of course. Although then, if they don't trade themselves, now I can take on e5 actually, putting pressure on the knight, leaving my knight here. I'm just a pawn up, bit tempo, like pressure on e6, weakness. At that point, need to be little bit this, but my queen is already here defending the square. The rook on, yeah, at this point. But yeah, there are multiple moments where I can, like, I'm not forced into any variations yet. Though, of course, if I, after a move like knight c5, let's say rook d1, knight c5, I take. If I can take on d6 and instead need to do something passively, that would be like quite unfortunate. Like rook e1 here, yeah, that would be a bummer. But I don't see that right now. Don't even like really see how they... What actually is their move here? Like how they keep defense of e7. I guess they can move their bishop, maybe in some lines. Am I ever considering here rook ad1 instead? I think it could be this could be an exact line where it's actually buckle, but it's so... Because it looks like I might already crash through. And then, let's say in a variation where, for example, I have a rook here, and yeah, no, don't know where their other... it doesn't really matter. Then I probably, at that point, prefer my rook on f1, at least defending this, over a1, which is, yeah, at that point I'm not gonna break anymore with a4. like the position is already like open and off. But also at that point I just play rook d1, and it already doesn't really matter anymore, or rook e1 sometimes. So in that sense, it's also not that important. I think, or it's not important anyway, or maybe the position like the structure in the center remains, and then I probably prefer to have the a4 break over defending f2, although it's not a super obvious decision. But I think at this point I should just make a move. Yeah, it could be that this 97 is just not a move, and that's the reason I didn't. It's not in my like chessable course. But it could also be that it's like the position was already like plus 0.6, and now it's 0.8, so it's, yeah, at some point like the variation just need to end, right? So you can't like take too big conclusions. But yeah, both my feeling of the position and like this extra information tend towards assuming I have some real advantage, if it's actually winning or just way better. Yeah, hard to tell. I guess hier, hier, met de rook, take. Also the a6 pawn is actually also hanging. Yes, they go into this variation. Okay. Yeah. So here, obviously important that it's with a check, otherwise they might have this intermediate move, but that's not the case. Oh. I already see something that I actually had missed. Damn it. I think I should have done with the other rook. Yeah, see, that's exactly the problem I was saying earlier. After rook take, they will take with the rook, and then after queen d6, the knight is still defending here, so yeah, they have rook d7. And I'm into trouble. Okay. Like, it's not the end of the world yet, but yeah. Yeah, I should have. That's exactly the stuff I was saying, right? That they are a sourceful defender. Yeah, and now it's clear that the other rook should have. Otherwise, I could just play rook e1. Of course, taking first and then rook e1. And then I still would have. Yeah, there is nothing. I think I probably can now just play like a slow move and have still just a great position. After, yeah, now I think I need to take. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. Like, now 93 clearly doesn't work. E4 is just hanging, so. And also, they are actually threatening to take. Although, maybe not really. Maybe I still have b4 in that position. But I don't have a good way to defend e3 anyway also, so yeah. I assume they take with the rook here. Yes. So here queen takes, that I had blundered that I have rook d7. And yeah, the knight is not hanging because there is here problems on the back rank. I have knight e5. But then they have knight e4. Also after queen e3. Now I'm actually threatening also knight e5. Still. Is the reason why I should play queen e2 instead of queen e3. Yeah, there could be. But yeah, I feel like here the knight is like diagonally for my queen, so the knight is very far from attacking it. But yeah, this knight on c5 for sure a good piece now. So after queen e3, rook f4. What do I do? After taking, then there is rook e4. And I might have I have knight c6. Okay, that's still actually quite concrete. So queen e3, rook f4, knight e5, rook e4, knight c6. If they take, I take here. So then the rook is hanging on e3, and the rook, like I guess it has e2, which is quite a decent square. Yeah, no, probably not that great. But after that, no. So after that line, I also could move my queen to, for example, g5. Since that knight is still not hanging, since there's still a pin. There's still knight c6 ID. Or maybe queen f3 in that line. Though then they could... Yeah, queen f3, then there's quite some tactics. So queen e3, rook f4, knight e5, rook e4. Oh no, then after queen f3, of course, now there's rook e5. So that doesn't work. But instead, queen g5 to still stop that. Then probably will defend this square. Though I still have like 96 there, even if they defend it with the queen. because I'm attacking the rook. Also, yeah, of course, in these lines I always have 92, but that would be quite passive. So queen e3, rook f4, 95, rook e4. Maybe just queen g3 actually. Or c3 even. Also interesting. Yeah, a lot of interesting squares there. Then they need to like defend this knight c6 ID. There's pressure here. And the knight, yeah, that's with queen on g3. Already my queen is pressuring that square. Yeah, okay. Yeah, of course, this is true. Okay, that was all for nothing. Queen f4 just blunders queen c5. I'm not sure. Like, I'm so lucky that I had good prep here. Ah, I'm blundering all kind of stuff. So yeah, that doesn't work. So assume then now they just need to defend this 95 somehow. After which, yeah. The question is, yeah, do I ever want to play b4? I guess, yeah, it depends, yeah. After queen c7, I don't think I want to do that. Since then, in that case, I can just go to d7. If I force the knight to b7, maybe it's worth, but yeah, they of course don't allow that. So now rook f4 could be a move. Yeah, also this otherwise was also still a threat. But now rook f4 could be a thing. Yeah. Yeah, shame that rook d2, rook f4. Here, that's too slow, right? g3, they are now gonna put pressure here. I need to find a way how to reorganize my pieces. Maybe knight e1 to prepare f3. Since this is like they are very far away of getting in d5 at least, I think. Knight e1 already defends this too. Then I maybe can just double after that. That looks also after knight e1 f3. Now I'm never need to be afraid of pressure on the f-file. Yeah, basically it kills almost all their counterplay. If I'm too annoyed by this knight, I can at some point just trade it off with knight e3. Yeah, the only thing is knight a4. Is that a thing I need to be worried about? Like, my feeling says no, but not completely certain. Don't think, yeah, b3, that gives a square, that's, but I think maybe queen b3 at that point. Although then I can go back to c5. Maybe queen a3, actually. Yeah, maybe that's not that unreasonable as a square. Looks like a little bit passive, but could also be that I actually play rook b1, which looks very passive, but the knight on a4 really is not coordinating with any pieces, I think. Oh no, after knight a4 I of course play knight e3. Like it's so lucky that I got like my half-hour bonus. But I need to change this quick. Like my calculation is so slow. I'm just it's horrible. But better slow than not seeing stuff at all. Like I still saw it like well in advance. It was never that I was close to making a blunder move. It was always like at least 1 or 2 moves before. But still, like in my calculation, a lot of like pretty like easy stuff that I am missing. Which I'm sure like my opponent is seeing instantly. Yeah, getting my knight, if they allow my knight on d3 to just sit there, that's like a monster. Not sure. It could be that I'm actually completely fine with doing the trade myself. But maybe I don't rush into it. Could be that like I need at some point the night to like create a breakthrough. I think that there are still like possibilities in the future where like my knight goes via b5. Again, the same trick with d5 and a fork. Like at the moment, of course, there are no pieces on forking squares, right? But it's not impossible that it happens later again. Like, the chance that it's relevant is relatively slow, but I can see it. It would be very, very nice that like the second night does the same team again. But yeah, of course, like the knight on like b4 is like will be quite and sometimes like the future of this knight. Like this is a weakness to attack, like this is a weak square to attack. Like maybe there's in some cases a pawn on d5 to attack. Defense might see two weakness. But yeah, it's mostly that I think I have just a static long-term positional advantage in this position with this d6 backward pawn, which is they really can't fix, and my knight on e1 is like perfect. Like the compensation for that is like the pressure on the c file, but there is no pressure on the c file at all. Yeah, and on the f file, the second compensation, like there I have just f3, and I don't think there is anything. Yeah. One potential team to keep in mind is like rook f4, f3, second rook. Now there are start to be tricks with knight e4, with taking, and then in the end like a checkmate here. So that's something that I need to look out for. I feel like I should have enough time to like defend against that, but yeah, for sure something to keep in mind. Like maybe I will then, it could be that I need to play knight e3 at the right moment. Also, after knight e4, yeah, very likely the trick never works, because I think I likely then have the moment I take, not recapturing, but knight e3 with a double attack on the rook and on the knight. I guess I could maybe go h4 in that line then. Okay, putting pressure here. Guess they could set up the similar trick. With set it up like f3 and now rook f7. And now I don't have the knight d3. And they're maybe also preparing d5 here. So yeah, that's for sure very reasonable. Yeah, maybe my by my slides, yeah, rushed rook fd1. Maybe, for example, maybe playing rook ad1 here, so I could then reply to maybe I could have had, like, instead of the queen on e3, have my hooks on d1 and e1. And that yeah, I think still f3 probably. I assume rook f7 with this ID next. And I guess then my knight will need to move. I guess after knight here, so after f5 here, knight d3, let's say they take, I can just take with the queen. Keep all my positional advantages. But yeah, I guess after here, they might be ready to play d5. Take, yeah. And then my positional advantage could be gone. So f3. I don't think I have much other choice. d5. Nah, I didn't play this great. Since of course after the captures now the rook defense here. But maybe f3, d5, now knight d3. Say they take. I still can then like take with the queen. Or I can take once and then play knight e3. But then I probably move the knights. Okay, still, like, it would have been nice to have this knight in the game, but this rook in the game. No. But mistakes that have been made are made. We'll need to live with them. So rook f7 or d5 are, I think, the main candidate moves here. Yeah, d5 quite quickly. So let's say knight here. Actually, is after d4, knight e5 a move? I think that might work. But yeah, of course, taking here. I don't think that knight is in any dangers to getting trapped. That e3 pawn probably more weakness than a strength. Of course, it gives also, it's direct with tempo on the rook. So that looks like it should work. Taking here, of course, that just hangs that. And if they take here, I think I will take with the queen. I could also actually take with a pawn and then probably gain the d file. Like, yeah, d4 is not at all threatening then. And after, yeah, if they take now, yeah. Like, they now have just not a good way how to use this. So yeah, that looks like quite an important detail. Not sure. It's with tempo, right? They are very limited in what I can do. They need or to take or to defend it, but then I have, it's also with this tempo. I guess they can move the knight or d4, but that, I think it just works for me. I guess the theme that I need to keep in mind is that, like, this diagonal is for sure something to keep in mind. Okay, they directly take. Yeah, so this was my original, but then maybe they just defend And now this pawn structure is maybe decent. Like this solves my backwards c pawn. I guess they could come in like here. Nah, I can just directly kick them back with rook d2. Although then I'm not ready to challenge again. I can kick them with queen d2, but then they can like pile up. Although, do I have rook c1? No, then they have taking. And that would be a blunderski. So here, I guess this is the big question. Rook d2. I think the queen just needs to go back. And then my queen maybe can pop out to like here. I don't need to like both are options for sure. Queen there, rook there. I feel that's exactly what I want. Also maybe taking here. Big decision here. Here, queen here. Like, if they don't do this, now I challenge and now I have the file, right? I think they can, like, for example, they cannot fight because, yeah, I have enough control over this square. I guess, yeah, they are still maybe fighting a bit for it. Yeah, I feel I should have the advantage there. Also, on some lines, I maybe can take on e7 if it's not too risky on the c file. Okay, it could be. Yeah, like this feels like a lack of my knowledge, like knowing what's here the best structural decision. But I feel yeah, getting rid of this backward pawn, it sort of feels right. And yeah, like they are now stuck forever with these. I'm like never really trading here. And in this, like with this structure, this pawn could have some strength. Like in some cases. Well, now it's just looking at this d pawn. And whenever like this trade happens, and now these two pawns are just big weaknesses. They still control a lot of squares, but I feel that's more relevant when there are minor pieces. Like rooks are very good in just picking them up. one by one. Like you could see lines in a rook endgame where I, for example, can pick up those two in 2 moves, and they maybe can pick up one of my pawns, and then I can play a pawn up rook endgame. You're still far from that, but like it could, at least it would be a team in the position. Even like even this pawn is like a third pawn that can be in that like you see often in rook endgames where each side keeps taking pawns, and then in the end you sort of get stuck. What's the situation? So yeah, like lines like this, when I do with the rook, with the queen, now they can just fight for it. So I don't think that makes sense. Yeah, I guess the question after queen c2 could be like, can I give this pawn and go for activity? I think that's not that crazy at all. But yeah, it gets very concrete then. For sure also with like this rook being loose at the moment. Like one team that is for sure in the position is queen g5. It's sort of a very hard. Okay, so this decision. Now I can do this, maybe. No, probably still I don't want to do that. This pawn is now a little bit a backward pawn, but it's very tricky to attack. Queen g5. I guess the plan is to just give this pawn. Looks like it looks promising. I know, I guess they have queen d6. They can defend both the pawn and the rook. Is it still worth to get my queen here? Or do I want it here, like fighting for the c file? Like queen g5. I guess queen c7 is similarly, but then I will get a tempo on the queen, so I think d6 makes maybe more sense. Then I will... But it looks kind of... Yeah, there's no also never like issues on this diagonal. Not sure what like... Now, gaining this tempos should be valuable enough. They can do this, of course. Give this pawn. Now they can enter. But then I can just take this one, and I don't think they have actually something in that position. Like or I could also take this one with check and then come back maybe. Hard to imagine all. They could do rook f6. No, rook f6, still this pawn hangs. I think the only thing is like these two, which, yes, c5 also, but it's all the same. I think d6 is the most, since the other squares I get the tempo. But I feel like queen d6, then still I'm the first getting to the c file. But maybe... Yeah, and my queen still is like fighting for this, right? So for example, lines... Yeah, it looks like very... Looks like I just get control over the c file. Yeah, probably at some point they sort of get a tempo maybe back with h6. So that could have been a reason to start with queen d2. Yeah, okay. And since also now I'm not fighting for this. So which rook? Is now the time to go feel I have been complaining all the time. Of course, like, still this e4 thing is in the position, but I feel like this is a moment where the c-file control is more important. And then, like, this rook on d1, I feel like it has still, like, the d2 square potential. It's for now defending this pawn. Yeah, I guess I was sort of blundering that this rook c7 is not possible, but they can do it. I can then again take the c-file. They then probably come back here, but now they can then not challenge again for it. Then might play just queen c2, hook c2 and queen c1. And it looks quite good for me. Feels like I should be able to enter then. Still, of course, like, there is a long way to go to get anything tangible from this position. But I feel like, let's say for like a higher level, that should be a 2-result game for me. But of course, here I'm not at all confident enough that I don't at some point will lose the control over the position. But this 15 minutes are still really nice in that sense. Let's see. 15 people here. A lot of familiar faces. Feel a lot of like bored ones here. Yeah, I feel that's quite often the case with my games. Like, I assume that's quite normal that people are more tending towards their own boards. So I'm not sure that's actually the case. Just so I feel, yeah, there is like there's this hook on the F file, but don't see how there ever is gonna be any F-file pressure with just major pieces. I feel this structure is way too solid. Like, the only weakness of the structure is the D3, but that's also super hard with tech. Like, I guess they could like some B4 and then getting the queen to this diagonal. It's like the only real way to do it. Which at some point could be a thing, but yeah, b4, that would give me like access to the c4 square, which like is a very nice solid square. Yeah. Yeah, here this half-hour advantage that I gained early on the clock is huge. Although I'm also not sure, like, it's more that they have a half hour less, right? It's not that I have a half hour more. Yeah, I of course could have needed more time to figure out his positions, but that's another option. But like, the option where they also went quite quickly in this variation, I don't think them being that low on time is that big a point here. I feel they are not going to just blunder something here. Although you never know. It's of course like still, if I at some point can force them into like needing to calculate like quite some variation to know if a certain moves is possible or not. Like yeah, you could for sure see like where I just play like a natural move. G3 is an option here, like to keep the pressure here, but I feel like I want to fight for the queen side here. Sometimes can pop out to a5 too. Yeah, want to like double or maybe even triple, but yeah, tripling is not that easy since my like but yeah, I can double, then probably I can go forward, and then the queen can join, and that should be quite a huge advantage. But yeah, I think they can now. Probably they should now at least trade off one of the rooks, I think. Maybe try to trade off both. I feel like in the queen endgame they should have. Then this construction could be way more awkward. Like I think in the queen endgame it will be very tricky for me to like start picking up pawns, since they very quickly could have like a perpetual. I guess then maybe it's like this construction like makes in almost all cases that they at least have like perpetuals on the dark squares. That's of course the downside of having played f3 and these pieces controlling these squares. Yeah, but I guess like maybe I can, if I at one point go active with the queen, it's this point that I need to pick off, and then like h2 or something could be a decent safe square for my king. Although yeah, of course losing the d3 pawn, then that's also like, even if I like gain like 2 or 3 pawns and they just keep the queen and this pawn, it will be immensely hard to win that. Like that pawn will be very strong. But yeah, they're getting very low on time here. Yeah, this is of course a very unpleasant position for them, with basically no counterplay. Yeah, I think so. That's very reasonable decision. Trying to trade off both rooks. I think I will play rook c1 here. And then rook here. And they still can do this. Yeah, that's a very smart decision. I have queen e5. They still can trade. So rook here. And that's probably, this rook f7, probably a very good move. They go here, now here. They can still do this. Then I can do queen e5. And it feels like I get then control over the file. Because I get control over the c7 square. So I think they will need to go back. Here. Like take the... Yeah, I think this might work. Yes. So I need to go rook c1 here. They go rook c7. And I think then queen e5. And then they can trade off one of the rooks, but I keep control over the c-file. The queen still doesn't really have active squares. I guess, no, and yeah, I'm fighting for, like, they cannot keep the tension in that position. Of course, yeah. I need to, yes. So I thought now queen e5 was the idea. Like they can trade off one of the rooks. Yeah, I control crucially. I now forever have control over c7, I think. Don't think they can fight me for it. Of course, like, I also don't think there is a way to, like, use my slightly weak, like, I have the square, but still my king feels like a queen getting in. Let's say they trade on c8, a queen getting in would be problematic. Although my queen always could still drop back. Look. Not sure, like, how that. How good actually this position is being is. Since it's like my queen controls now, like, I get the access of the control over the c-file, but I don't get really any entry. I guess my rook could go to c1, maybe could do first some slight improving moves with h3, king h2, and then at some point my queen comes in. That makes quite some sense. Yeah. Yeah, this is. I'm very curious, like it can only be me that it's better. But how much the advantage is, I have really no clue. Like, is there something that should be technically winning? Is there something that is like better for me but should should be defendable? Or is it even like an objective sense really minimal? But yeah, it's only like a practical advantage. Is it in like objective sense even nothing? That could be also the truth. But yeah, of course that last one is not as important. It's more the practical that is important, but still interesting, of course, to know. Like they could try to maybe sort of trade the queens off, but I'm not sure that's actually in their advantage. I feel like the advantage should be bigger for me in the rook endgame. So I think they probably... Yeah, I think like the queen trade is good for me, the rook trade probably not. I think I for sure want to keep the rooks on. So which kind of improving moves do I want to make? I'm really not certain. But I think h3 and king h2 makes a lot of sense. as long as the queens are on the board. Of course, then they could maybe try to get in here. Yeah, that's for sure an idea to get like here. Of course, once they do that, maybe I can now try to get more active here. Also, whenever the queens, now they are not really threatening anymore to challenge the c-file. So then maybe I can, oh yeah, that's, I think they need to, yeah, they go there. At least, guess maybe b4 could be actually also an idea that they are suggesting. Do I want to react to that? No, then I have queen c5 and I'm very happy to trade rook, so I think, yeah, this h3, is it good or not? Rook c2 is might be like a nice little improving move. Yeah, let's do this h3. You never know if it can be useful. Like to have this square. Even in rook end games, that after the check I can go to h2. And that's like, there's not a like check tip pick up the b2 pawn. Like the dark squares now clearly are also slightly weaker. But I, yeah, feel it's very hard to. Oh, wow. Ah, they can try to trade hooks like that. That idea I missed clearly. Yeah, that's a really nice idea. Think I go queen. Rook here, rook here. So yeah, now it's really nice that I have this square. So since then I can maybe I actually should have played rook d7. Yeah, no, I think this h3 still is I guess I have b4. Nah, I really don't want to trade rooks. Rook here, rook here. Of course, yeah, allowing the rook to enter is also far from ideal. Here, then very nice move. Very nice move. Queen e3. That like breaks up my structure myself. Then they might have b4. I can keep control over the C files still, although not that easy actually. Yeah, this plan is very good. Queen. So if I play a rook here and rook here, queen here, like if they trade rooks here, yeah, here, nah. Queen here. Yes. And it's having the open file there enough compensation for ruining my pawn structure. Might be. So this here, and they give the check. Now they get the queen also to this file. And yeah, I just have no real activity. Can I do this here? Hook somewhere else. Let's say here. Now they can even maybe. So here, let's say what happens if they just move the queen to d7. Still not really fighting then for the open file. And no, then I have c5. Okay. And if they play b4, at least then that that's maybe some like the line where they have this perpetual. So here b4. No, then I have c6 fighting for the square. So that doesn't work, I think. Although then they might try to do the same again with rook b5. But then maybe at least I can improve my position first. Oh, I have then queen c2. So no. So here, it's a big decision, of course, ruining my pawn structure like that. But maybe, yeah. I think it's probably just somehow equal after. I think they directly will need to fix my pawn structure back with b4. Take, and I think there in the rook endgame they should have like enough to make it raw. Like this I really don't want a queen in the game. I think it's, yeah, once from practical aspect, but also just objectively. Like then it feels like this airy king of me is more important than maybe even gaining 1 or 2 pawns or. No. Very curious about this. So what was my plan after this? I'm not sure anymore, actually. I had a plan, I think, but I sort of forgot. Oh, maybe. Oh, no, I have queen c5. That was, of course, the plan. And then, yeah, of course, then I'm in. I think they need to go. This probably should force the queen trade. And then, okay, they go for b4 instead. So now my idea was queen a4. Fighting for the square. Next I could go rook c4, queen c2. This this feels not right to me. Because yeah, this queen c2. I think I want to go with rook first, but yeah, of course keeping control over the c file is more important. And there is also something to be said with the queen part. Yeah, I will take a moment to decide which of the two I want. Yeah, maybe they should just at some point like b3 could very well be a move. But maybe, okay, we go there now. I guess, yeah, in this way they will be able like to force that after b3 I need to take. So yeah, maybe b3 is here a good move, I think. Although that needs very sharp calculation from them. Like I feel I'm grabbing a lot of pawns probably then. But maybe, yeah, they are, yeah. They go for the d3 pawn, of course. And that pawn is very... But yeah, I need to take, yeah, I guess. Okay, sort of missed that. Queen c4. At least then I don't need to react directly to b3. Since b2, now forever this pawn is a weakness. And this. I think I want next rook c2 and b3. They probably at some point will. But yeah, now after b3, I at least can take with rook. Although, yeah, after b3, of course, they have the idea to like just go there. Although, no, I think, and that's like then I just crash 2 to their king. I think this position is very difficult for them. Okay, not sure what the idea is here. Yeah, I need to look. Guess now after b3. Yeah, do I take it? Maybe, yeah, they are back setting up b3 here. Of course, yeah, need to make a, like, they could do b3 here, and then they could try to get towards my king. But the queen is like needs quite some moves to get her. But yeah, b3 here for sure feels valid candidate. And yeah, I think after, like if I would take with the queen, now rook b5, and yeah, I can grab like super many pawn, but I think they just kept this, and this one is, yeah, but I need to very sure, like I might have like almost all the pawns won. And I would also have like a strong passer. Yeah, and I go for b3, of course. Yeah, I think now I keep the queens on. Rook b5. And then... No, I don't. Okay. Now I need to calculate, which is annoying, of course. Who wants to calculate? Here. And I think now then is the moment to go active. They take here. So let's say here, here. They can of course also give the check, but I think I'm less afraid of that. Let's say I go here. Yeah, maybe it's not actually checkmate. Very big decision here. Take rook b5. So let's say queen c, take, yeah. Guess here, queen c7, and then I take and take this, and then next here. No, that's not good. Here. So here, rook takes, rook here. Oh yeah, maybe that was the idea I was looking at earlier. Okay, let's calculate that out at least a bit. So here, here. Queen of course can do all kind of active things, but not that active. Like they are not threatening to give checks yet. I guess they can go here. And then no, they are not threatening to direct perpetual yet. So here. And then, so the idea is take here with the queen. And then this is a checkmate threat, I think. Yeah, that might be good. I think I'm gonna go for it. This feels the right thing to do. Like, yes, this was expected. Here, here, here. They don't have a square to defend this. Like, of course, I can always cap it, but not like they want to avoid that I can take with the queen and at least straight. But I don't think they can do that. Of course, you know. It could maybe this is maybe a thing. So that. No. Yeah, then I need at least one extra move. Yeah, we'll see. I think at least the risk is very minimal. Like, I'm way quicker to give any like checks with the queen. Like, they can even like with the rook, they are now take, 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 and that's only one check. And then on h2, like my move I was earlier doubting about, but which now is coming in very clutch, this h3. Because of that, like the queen, it needs to go to like f4 or yeah. Like they are very far away of giving checks on. Yeah, I guess no, they cannot even like yeah. That's one braid. I think yeah. I actually after queen b5, it's maybe only one move, but I think I'm in time. So after like queen b5, take here, they take here, I give this check, and this is checkmate. But yeah, it's still also yeah, it's actually nice that this square will be with the tempo on the queen, so the queen sort of is a little bit limited. I guess queen b4, still here. You have now one check, but not a second check, I think. Don't think I'm blundering anything. I think they need to go passive. And maybe they can then defend, but I think it's very difficult. Maybe something like here, here. No, then, oh yeah, no, that doesn't work. Don't think they can get access of this square, which they need. Like my queen here defends all the squares that defend this square. Yeah. Think this might very well be like my strongest win ever. Are they making a move? Yeah. Okay, they go there. Ah yeah, this is they defend still. I need now to have the extra move here, but I think I have time for that. Like after here. Now I'm not threatening checkmate yet. Like this bail out, no, I'm not bailing out here. I have some time. Let's not rush it. This. The queen is super far of doing anything active. I think then I do this check here and here. And I don't see how they stop this. Of course, yeah, maybe they need to do instead. Yeah, probably taking on b2 is not good, but yeah, what otherwise, right? Like this pawn on d4 is almost an asset for me. Like it makes it way harder for their queen to get checks in. "17 people here. Jokic here, getting ready for their game. Like a little bummer that we couldn't score any pawns in the earlier. Although, yeah, I think even it turns out that even a win with 4.5 was already not enough for a medal. So, okay. Not sure what this move does, except maybe trying to distract me. Think I give this check. They go here and here. And I don't see how they stop this checkmate. Of course, yeah, they can stop it by giving up the queen, but this is not a position where that gives any practical chances. I'm up a pawn for the moment. Yeah. This, I still have to check. I think I'm gonna do it. Like, this is one of my things. Like, if you're certain like the game is over, like there's no reason to like rush this move. I don't see what they could try. I think I just at least win of the queen. Yeah. Queen f7, that I still crucially control the square. Like I have two attackers of this square and they can at most get one defender, so like or the king or yeah. Yes. Yeah, so now I think they now need to draw the last game, so I made it also way more exciting now for the battle for the podium. I think now a draw is enough for them, if I understand it correctly, but I'm not sure. Thanks for the bits or the cheers. Don't know all the difference between this stuff, but yeah, I'm not sure if this actually, yeah, for sure for like serious, this is almost certain my strongest win. Let's remove this. Can I not remove pinned comments? What's that for something? Okay. I guess I pinned this one. Let's see. Yeah, that was yeah. Okay. So I guess it looks like I missed what of earlier. Queen b6 actually. I guess maybe the same idea was already working here. Yeah. Okay. yeah, similar IDs. Still 10 viewers here. Oh, not sure how active it was here. Still like thrilling a bit. Not sure where to start with analysis. I think yeah, I covered a lot during the game, but so no, let's do this. This can be gone. Okay. So first, what I wanted to check is that actually, yeah, this is actually even by far my highest rated classical win, and I won against another candidate, Master Wukash. I think they are actually very similar strength. But I'm almost more proud about this one. I can show. Okay, these are my best. These two from the pool. Then Isa, I won one, which is and Wukash. But I feel yeah, Wukash was more like a one blunder, while here it was more very good prep and then slowly pushing forward. Okay, so let's see, maybe the Lichess chat. For sure, if you had like, I can only see until like the last 40 minutes the comments here in chat. I'm not sure if I can easily see longer. Oh, okay. So let's see. Thanks Tabando, Tienta, Enter for the congrats. Yeah, you do we already said, of course. So let's see. Yeah, so it looks like they had prepped for 5 minutes. I did a lot more than 5. Although it was not specifically like I started playing this Knight of 3 only quite recently. You hadn't followed to me yet, Tienta. Oh. But yeah, thanks, man. And sorry for your game. Yeah, you gave it a really good fight. Of course, maybe used a little bit too much time in the opening, but like I felt, yeah, that was felt like an undeserved loss. Like you played really great, but yeah, maybe not too practical with the time management. Yeah. So yeah, this was all still prep, which is yeah, of course. But yeah, they found like these are still like 100 games, so they took a lot of time, but they managed to get to this position. And knight e7 is actually still a move. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, need to check. I clearly didn't remember this. And yeah, I miss like Rook ad1, which I said also later during the stream that something that that I would have preferred Rook ad1. But yeah, that was because yeah, I can go to that. I had missed from afar that in this position I couldn't take. Luckily I realized it. But yeah, I think Rook d7 here is just GG, yes. Yeah, but yeah, I realized it still like 1 or 2. I think after knight c5 I realized it. So that was still like 2 moves in advance. So it was not that I was close to blundering, but it was of course a mistake in my calculation. Otherwise, I think I would have played Rook ad1. So let's see what then changes. Let's say they still play the same. Yeah, now, and now there's knight takes e5. And why doesn't that work in the other line? Let's check. Yeah, I guess, yeah, now f2 is of course hanging. That was, yeah. That's the big reason why you want. So that's okay. Makes a lot of sense. So 12, yeah, they are still like figuring out. Yeah, their time management, maybe in the end it won me in the game. But yeah, I feel because of that they also survived my prep. And like actually I at some point missed, or there was a hole in my prep, or I misremembered something, and by that point we are only in like a equal position, but I of course had a huge time advantage. And so they are still like figuring out. This is actually like the theory where, so that's why they are candidate master and I am fighting for 2000. But what are they saying? Rook e7. Yeah, but yeah, they're saying this is fine, but I'm here better. Like here, like these pawns are, yeah, it's are the strengths, are this weakness. The engine suggests, yeah, my pieces are of course amazing in this position. So yeah, this is potential, and I have long-term pressure. Like I sometimes have tactics taking on d5 or, but yeah, this is for sure still a playable position. And yeah, not certain, like this would have given me a bigger advantage than the game, but I'm not certain that practically that would have been better for me. I felt like now it was more clear how the game meant for me. So here, yeah, here we got this. So I guess, yeah, from here I can see the comments from 26. So let's see what people were saying here. Thanks for putting the moves enter. That makes it a lot easier for me to follow. King f2, 31, king f2. No, I think, yeah, my h3, that was really the star move. Like, it doesn't really, like, it's not even the best move. But because of that, now I had, like, their counterplay was always super slow. And I had a lot of time to get in my mating attack. So I was really happy with this h3. Like, practically, I think that was a really good move. Although Tabando didn't like. It's a... What? Yeah, I understand Tabando believing in the CM. Although I think yeah, he said like the master would start to outplay, but I think I actually outplayed him. But since, yeah, of course, yeah, I guess I'm actually worse here. Yeah, that's like slightly. I didn't expect that. Like I felt, I guess they are just running the king here, and then going for some trade. But it felt like, at least, of course, I was not thinking that this would be winning or anything, but I thought, yeah, and then yeah, it still wants to play b4 at some point, and then I felt I couldn't be. Once like I got rid of this, my pawn structure is still long-term better, I thought. But yeah, here in this position for sure they could have tried to outplay me. There is no doubt about that. Well, here, yeah. Now I get back access with full control over the A file. And here, yeah. Queen E7, what that actually does. H5. I guess, yeah, they want to set up some perpetual IDs here, and that's how they want to defend against my activity. But that's like very deep engine stuff. I would say, like, their pieces are also not playing together at all now. There's a rook on a5 and a queen here, and they push a pawn on the other side while I have nice coordination. I think this is like a very engine-y defense. So yeah, I had here already. I had seen this ID, which I did. I'm not sure if it's actually basically the same as already working. I guess this pawn is not hanging really, because rook c6, yeah. And now I get the same in. So yeah, I had seen it here, but yeah, I thought I can just. They forced me basically into it. And I guess here they had enough counterplay. Not sure actually how this works. Why this now? Yeah, they can. So I guess they are just. Now this is, of course. So I'm now too slow. Now I need to trade off hooks, because now this is very strong. And G3, King F6, King G2. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, that's like to find here as an only move and time pressure. I think, yeah, they have a reasonable shot here to find like, I had like this idea to get to this square I for sure had seen. So but yeah, I guess they missed something in this line. Since yeah, this was quite straightforward, not that difficult. So yeah, overall, and not that much more to say. Should I have how much time did I have here? I still had here 9 minutes. Played rook c2 maybe a bit too fast, and like I should maybe have fold, like all their pieces are away of the king. I had seen this idea, and maybe I should have, but yeah, in the end I still can't complain with this game, of course. Like, let's see. Yeah, still this rook b7, like, okay, they didn't manage to keep it, but like it was really nice to find that counterplay. Queen b5. Not sure at what point queen b5. Here maybe queen b5. But yeah, then again the same idea would work. But yeah, here it would be quite scary. Like now the queen. Although here, no, I think this is not that difficult. Like this queen f5 I had seen. I think I would have figured it out here. Like this is all the checks. I think I would have figured this out. And I think, yeah, the reason how you find this rook b7 is that, I should organize this better now. I'm not seeing like the live comments. Yeah. Yeah. I had seen this queen e6 already from a long time, but yeah, I missed it then in like one variation too, so I can't say from 100% certain. But yeah, like this coordination on the light squares I had seen from afar. Since I was already like thinking about that like way I think already maybe yeah here, right? I think I was already here thinking about trying to get it in with rook c8, but it was not really working. But I was already trying to get the same idea in, but then it was way too slow. So from that point I was already aware of that idea. And yeah, how you find, yeah, you just need to, like, you can't allow me to keep the control over the B file. Otherwise I'm just slowly improving my position. At some point, yeah, like I will maybe enter or do something. Like you need to fight for this file. And yeah, also clearly, like preferred trade for black is the rook, and I think for white the queen. So that's also likely how they came to that conclusion. So let's see what otherwise even. So earlier, yeah, going here, yeah, there was just no play here for black, I think, on the queen side. Like alone. Yeah, I guess they could go for this, but it's so slow. I'm just entering on the C file. Like, I think that never can work. Don't think this B3 was actually trying to overpress. I think they tried to, it was a way to like equalize. But yeah, they clearly missed something in like this attack. And yeah, now it's clear that not queen f6, but queen g5. Griegerot, welcome, by the way. At what point do you think, like, the queen was never looking at that square, right? So, so here, yeah, it's a concrete moment, of course, very concrete. I need to react to that with, but yeah, also after my h3, yeah, I guess it threatens sometimes perpetuals. But let's say they go for it here. Yeah, like I probably now can think about entering here. Not sure. Could also enter with the queen, I think, here. And this is, I guess, here. Of course, my rook is hanging here. But I think here I probably can at least like get my queen. I'm not sure here. I'm not fully in it. But I don't think, for example, this they really have an. Oh, this is actually winning for them. Okay, yeah, then it was actually a good idea. This queen e7. Wow, I clearly. Yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, okay, I guess, yeah, but yeah, that I needed to defend. But yeah, I think then the more thing is, yeah, queen d, I can just play queen d2 here, right? Yeah, that's more to the point, okay. Yeah, I think I would, since now they are not threatening to go to the c file. Now I just gain full access to the c file, and I stop the counterplay over there. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I think I would have found this. Of course, now they could sort of go back, but I think now I can do this. They can then start to look at this back. Yeah, it looks like this is sort of like a perpetual ID that they have. But maybe here I can do like a slight improving move. H3 here. Now queen g5 is a little bit less threatening. King h1. And then, yeah, they have some counterplay here. But I think this is still quite threatening to go for as black. Like the queen alone is not going to do anything. But yeah, maybe practically they had some chances here. I'm not sure. And maybe they can go for some g5, g4 IDs. But yeah, but to me, forever having control over the c file, I understand why they wouldn't allow that. But yeah, this is a little bit similar, like where they in the end, like gain some. Now it takes for me a very long time to get anything against their king, so I never really have time to go grab some pawns here. Yeah, so for sure was a very valid alternative plan. And like my rating is, yeah, back over 2200. Looks like it's a bit more. Yeah, they can do with the G-pawn, but it's still not like, it's not really creating any threats, right? And now whenever my queen comes now with way more power into the game, like now I always directly will start giving checks. So it's a very double-edged move here. It's like, for example, here it already gives like now white a slight advantage. And it even says like queen c5. Yeah, I guess you can take here, but like now here I'm the one that, and my king is super safe. But yeah, there is here like precise defense. Like I guess maybe there's here, yeah, here rook f3 works. So yeah, you have stuff like that. Although I guess this is some sort of a perpetual after this. Ah yeah, they have here like yeah, of course. But then here they already need to find like only moves to draw. But yeah, of course, I think more for the mostly I covered the rest. I for sure need to like I'm gonna check this. So I'm gonna check what the theory of my is actually here. And I think after that I will. So if you have suggestions to rate someone, now is the time. But this is not in my course. What a big mistake. That's really bad. Like there's quite a lot of traffic on here and it's not in my course. Maybe it's as a subline, but yeah. So then I for sure know. Yeah, I will need to check this. Of course, yeah, I could have also, like if I had done, actually, I got very good preparation in, but I was sort of still unhappy with how I prepared today, since I was not feeling that great before the game actually. Then I probably would have spotted this and then maybe looked at this deeper even. But yeah, of course, move 17 is still like amazing, but so I'm not like, but yeah, it's not like I I knew almost, like I knew this position was super likely to happen, 94, like, and then here it was just all the main 9 height. It's not that, okay, and here, yeah, 97 is like the third move, but so I don't think it's like any special preparation, but of course, yeah, super happy with how good my preparation was. So let's see who is streaming. Is Jordan streaming? Yeah, are they not streaming? Are they already finished? I guess I'm gonna maybe stream the chess dojo. Has been some time that I streamed them, rated them. So tomorrow at 18th UTC back with more rapid. For sure, trying to get my peak rapid rating and maybe even getting to that 2300. If I go perfect, I for sure have a chance. So, and otherwise, yeah, most days I will keep streaming at 18 UTC, my regular. Although, yeah, I guess the last one of the league, so we'll see. And after that, yeah, I'm not sure what I will do, but we'll see that. See you in the future.